Hello, and welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches from around the nation that are making the big time where they are at. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors that make this podcast possible. This episode is brought to you by Plyomat. The Plyomat is a multi-faceted jump testing mat that allows you to instantly receive ground contact times, jump height, and reactive strength measurements. One thing that is unique about the Plyomat is that it allows you to connect not just one, but multiple mats together for use in multi-hurdle hops and bounds, which not only gives it testing value, but also high value in training sessions with instant feedback on athlete reactivity. It is easy to use, accurate, and affordable. To check out the Plyomat and see what it can do for your training, head to plyomat.net. That's plyomat.net. This episode is also brought to you by Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. It is Powerlift's goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made from the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes for years to come. It's sought after for its unique design, customizable appearance, affordability, and superior warranty that training facilities deserve. Powerlift helps design weight rooms with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on their ability to outfit athletic facilities based on a team's unique goals. That's why high schools, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training goals. Call Powerlift today to be contacted with a rep in your area, and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see for yourself why our clients are Powerlift proud. Finally, this episode is also brought to you by Vitruve. Vitruve is a velocity-based training system designed for colleges and high schools around the world. It is accurate, reliable, and affordable. The software is quick and easy to set up and use with a whole room of athletes simultaneously. Coaches have chosen Vitruve because it simplifies VBT and allows them to seamlessly integrate it on a daily basis. Check out Vitruve now for your school's free demo unit. Now, let's get to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Today, I'm happy to have Coach Pat Doyle on, and he's a great strength coach that I met at probably one of the best clinics I've ever been to. Actually, maybe I've said that on the show before, but it was the Nebraska Strength Coaches Organization state clinic, and man, they do a really nice job. And Pat was, like when you get to the end of the clinic, and you have the last speaker, right? And people are packing up, sponsors are leaving, all that type of stuff. And I'm pretty sure Pat was the last one at the year that I went, so about a year ago. And what a quality talk. And oftentimes when you put on a clinic, that like that last one, there's going to be people that are trying to take off and that type of stuff. And I hope that as many people could have heard him speak as possible, because it was impressive, first of all, and the level of organization and buy-in that he displayed throughout his presentation was pretty awesome. And then just be able to follow him on social media and stuff. So Pat's a solid dude that is doing a great job in Nebraska, and he's an Islander in the middle of the Midwest. So that's pretty unique too, right?
Yeah, it's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little weird, but
yeah. So thanks, Pat, for coming on the show. If you want to kind of give us your background up to this point, kind of how you got to where you're at, and kind of just the version of that keeps it short for our listener, but gives them a little bit of background.
yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the intro too. The last spot of a clinic is always tough to speak, so I hope I gave a quality one. Yeah, Pat Doyle, head strength coach at Grand Island Senior High in Grand Island, Nebraska. Island in the middle of the Midwest, right? Originally from small town Beatrice, Nebraska. My big thing was growing up, I wanted to be involved with sports however I could. And kind of when my athletic days got over, I started looking for careers that I could do that. It was from athletic training to sports nutrition to I finally zeroed in on strength and conditioning, and I did internships in my undergrad at University of Nebraska, and I did a summer internship at Creighton. And then I was a graduate assistant at Pittsburgh State down in Kansas for 2 years. And then it came the big time to decide if I wanted to continue the college route or kind of go high school. And that was kind of when I was getting married. We were starting to have to start a family. And, I had a couple job offers in Texas and Georgia and all these places. And we decided that, we want to be closer to home. So we went the high school route. And did one high school down in Kansas for a couple years, and then we wanted to get back closer to home. So here we are, 2 hours from home. It's close, but just far enough away for a day trip, and then been here ever since. So we'll be starting year 5 here pretty soon.
Just a quick reference or a quick note for everybody that's listening. When you're a Pitt State grad, it's pretty weird because I don't know if they have I don't know if there's anywhere in the nation that has their mascot. Pat, do you remember your mascot
The
from your time?
Gorillas, baby.
The Gorillas. Let's go.
Gorillas. So especially around here, everybody's a UNK fan, obviously. So it's like I got my Pitt State logos on my windows and stuff around here. And people, that's not that big of a deal, but it's definitely funny because we have kids that go on and play at UNK, and I'm like, I need a shirt from you, but I'm only gonna wear my Pitt. It's just for my collection. I rock my Pitt State stuff most of the time.
Yeah. We've got there's some pretty interesting ones in the MIAA. You got the Lopers and the Bearcats and the Ichabod
Missouri Westerns, the Griffins, like there's
Griffins.
some the Central Missouris, the Mules and the Jennies.
Yeah, that's pretty rough, man. Those are all pretty rough.
There's some weird ones for sure.
Yeah, no, that's good to kind of get a background, and maybe the next question would be kind of give us logistics or demographics of your school. So kind of your schedule that you use, the number of students that you might have, all that type of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, we're officially, I think, the biggest high school in the state of Nebraska. We have over 3,000 kids. So it's a lot of moving parts. We're actually on an alternating block schedule. So we have 4 90-minute blocks every day, and it's every other day. So, which I think we're going to talk about it later, talking about like some different things challenges you've had to overcome. That's a big one. And so this year we started I built my own curriculum basically in order to get kids every day. They lift for 45 minutes of a 90-minute block, and then they go to a leadership class or a nutrition class, or they fit their health requirement, or they go to some other class. That way we get them for half the time, but we get them every day. So that way we're not lifting every day. We're doing a linear speed day or a change of direction day. We're lifting 3 times a week typically. And we're like the only program in the school that really does that. So it just goes to show that persistence pays off. I just kept asking and kind of got the schedule that I wanted for the most part. We still got some things to work out here and there, but large in part, that's kind of what we look like. And it was weird being an every other day block because you might have, especially with spring sports, tennis, soccer, track and field, baseball, like if you have them on a Tuesday and a Thursday that week and they have games on a Tuesday and Thursday, you may not see them from the previous Friday all the way to the next Monday. So you might not see a kid for 9 or 10 days if you're on an alternating schedule like that, which if you want to talk about lack of consistency, that's like the picture of it right there. And then you're asking kids to come in before school, after school, during their open blocks or during a lunch period just to get fit their lifts in. And I mean, I don't think kids should have to do that. They're already under enough stress with school and sports and practices and work and all that stuff that I just wanted to fit in their daily schedule perfectly. So I just kept advocating for our kids. That's kind of where we're at right now with it.
That's really good. Let's dive into that just a little bit more because I know there's a decent amount of schools around the nation that use a block schedule. Some of them use an alternating block schedule. There's a number of different ways that you can do the block, right? But I think a lot of times, at least in Iowa, those are called skinnies. So you made a skinny within the block. So like an A and a B within block one. Maybe it's block 1A and block 1B, something to that effect. So you said
essentially, yeah. And like with the skinnies, is they may take a math skinny and then a PE skinny. Well, we put 2 PE skinnies in the same period, basically. Just the second PE half is something else pertaining to athletic performance, like I said. So it's different for sure, but I think it's worked pretty well for us. We'll make a few adjustments here and there. But
how do credits work for that then? So do they just get their PE credit when they take those 2 quote skinnies, or is it where they would get a nutrition credit and a PE credit?
We just enroll them in the same class twice, actually.
Okay.
So it's like they're enrolled in either intro or advanced athletic performance twice, once on their A day and once on their B day. That's how we get them both. And then we just break it up and they get credit for both of them. But there's like separate grade books for the nutrition piece and separate grade books for like the performance piece, like the lifting. So it says the same thing like on their transcript, but we know that it's a different curriculum that they're getting for each one, essentially.
Yeah, that's good to know. I'm just trying to
Kind of
think through this.
complicated, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think through that would limit a student in what they'd be able to take. So normally they'd be able to take 8 classes, right? So then it'd make them they could have 6 other classes, 6 cores
Yeah.
that they could have. Okay. So
And
then
so like
you're probably not
our
getting very many band or music kids then. Is that
we
true?
don't get very many at all. And the ones that do that are our athletes that are in marching band, or we have a really good show choir program, orchestra, like all these different programs, those kids, and we have a ton of AP courses that our kids take. So some of our kids are loaded up on 5 or 6 AP classes. Like they don't even take our class but they're still committed to come in and lift on their own time. So that's why I said moving parts wise, we do have a lot. And their freshman and sophomore years, typically they have a lot more requirements they have to hit. So some of those kids don't get enrolled in the class, but junior and senior, they've taken enough courses to where they kind of get some open blocks and freedom and stuff like that. So we can usually fit it in pretty well there.
That's cool. Tell me how many people are on your staff or how many other PE teachers are there to help service those 3,000 students?
Just so we have an athletic performance program, and just alone we have 8 teachers tied to it. So we have 3 teachers with planned periods and whatnot teaching our nutrition classes. I have 2 assistants in the weight room, and then our head football coach teaches a leadership class as well, which is tied to it. So, and then we have another PE teacher that comes in to teach one block over planned periods. So it's throughout the day. We have 8 different teachers that are coming in and out of the weight room to help me, or in a different classroom, or so on and so forth. So and like I said, I have 2 assistants. There's 3 CSCS certified strength coaches that we have on staff here that all have high school and college background. So we're pretty good amount of hands on deck when it comes to training our kids every day.
So you get one prep a day, is that, and then so one of those assistants would just take over for that prep. So like block 3 or block 4 might be your prep. Do
I
the,
actually
the weight room still running, or do you just keep going?
I don't have a prep actually.
Okay.
So I pretty much our first group is football at 6 a.m.
Mhm.
So I usually get here before football and lift on my own. Otherwise, I would never get it done. So I usually get here about 4:45, 4:30, 4:45 every day. I get my lift in, and then football's at 6. And then we have we have a second football group at 6:45 that comes in, and then some of those other kids that aren't enrolled in the class will come in around then or 7. And then I teach all 4 blocks, and then usually I'm still doing stuff after school too. So I'm a 12-hour a day guy on most days, to be honest.
That's a lot. I mean, you
It
can.
is.
That's a
It is.
lot. Yeah. I think about we're recording this podcast pretty late for you. Then I'm sure this is past your bedtime at this point.
Well, and the crazy thing is, like, I got 2 littles at home too. So like, we just put them to bed at 7:45, and I jetted over here because I knew I'd be loud on the podcast. I don't want to wake them up, and then I'll get home later, and I'm usually up till at least 10 because there's different. That's the crazy thing is, like, we always talk about working in the system versus working on the system.
Yeah.
I get 0 time throughout that 12 hours when I'm actually at work to work on the system. So I'm in the system all day because we train 600 to 700 kids a day. And then I usually take 8 to 10 o'clock at night. My wife and I are watching TV or something, and I'm usually working on the computer doing stuff. We're actually going to work on the system,
Yep.
and then go to bed and do it all over again. So it's a lot of time.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that. You say you train 600 to 700 students a day. If I followed this, then it's a total of somewhere between 12 and 1,400 students that will go through your weight room in a week.
So all 600 or 700 of those kids are going through the program every day.
Okay, got it.
So that's about it. And it's in some way, shape, or form, whether it's lifting, speed work, change of direction. Like, not every day is a weight room day for everybody because we have 4 different groups going at the same time in different locations. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and you talk about, like, we have kids transitioning through the hallways to get from class to weight room to gym. So the first semester was rough because it was the first time I really did it, but now we kind of got it all ironed out. It's a lot smoother now, but
that's a lot of fun.
It is. It keeps, like, there's really no time to get tired or take a break because we're moving constantly all day.
That's a lot of problem solving. That's what I really enjoy, just like logistics and stuff of that many kids. It sounds it sounds like a lot of fun in that way, being able to like orchestrate all that.
Well, that's the fun part is like no 2 days are the exact same because there's going to be something that pops up every day. Whether it's tomorrow we have a career fair in the gym, they're setting up tables right now, so it's like we have no gym space.
Yeah.
So our other group, and we're in a blizzard warning right now, so we can't go outside. And so our younger groups are going to use the wrestling room tomorrow, and they'll do like some tumbling or different mobility drills, or I don't know, we may do some hand to hand combat. I don't even know what we're going to do
Hmm.
because that type of stuff pops up every now and then. So
Yeah. Way to roll with the punches. That's the fun. That is the fun right there.
yeah,
Well,
so it's
part of the
problem
fun.
solving is definitely a big piece of it here.
Yeah. Okay. So that's part of the fun. The other part of the fun that you've got going on is you're burning the candle at both ends. And so you're going close to a 12-hour day every day. And you rock and roll like that, right? This is the way that you operate. How do
Much
you stay focused? How do you stay um, passionate? And how do you stay encouraging for the kids?
It's never really been a struggle for me, honestly. There's obviously days where I'm down a little bit energy wise. If my kids woke up that night, I'm a little more tired, but I'm not gonna lie, I caffeinate a lot. That's just kind of a natural part of the job. But I don't know, the work that our kids put in is super motivating because just like me, they got different stuff going on in their lives, and I'm pushing through different things to try and remain energetic and positive for them. And for the most part, they reciprocate it right back.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy when you got a lot of internally motivated kids that want to be there. And dude, like kids are funny. Kids are funny. They keep you on your toes all the time. Obviously, I get a lot of ball jokes and different things like that. So kids are always roasting you, and they keep it pretty lighthearted. And like I got a cold right now, so like my voice cracked like 9 times today. So I'm constantly getting made fun of asking if I'm going through puberty again because when I yell, like my voice is just gone. So it's just different stuff like that throughout the day that it's like, how can you not be happy and enjoy what you're doing when you're in such a fun environment, um, impacting lives like that, and you don't think about it on a daily basis, but
Hmm.
you look back and reflect at the end of the day, and you're like, man, that was a super fun day. I can't wait to run it back tomorrow.
Right. That's good. For those of you that don't know Pat, and you're listening, on a podcast, Pat is a stereotypical strength coach. Okay? He's big, he's strong, he's bald, and he's got a beard. So he's got it all. And actually, he was telling me pre-show, if you catch him during the work week, he's got sweats on. But if you catch him on the weekends, he's got jeans and cowboy boots on. Okay. So there you go. If you've got a picture in your head, there's Pat now.
It's very stereotypical. I check every box for what the job is supposed to entail, right?
Yeah, I think you said caffeinated too. So I think you've hit literally every box.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I don't know if stereotypes are bad. It's trendy, right? Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I'm a kid coming in. Let's say you guys are in 912 in 912 school. So like
yeah,
I come
yeah.
in, I'm a freshman and I'm coming into your class for the first time. What's it feel like? And what are some of the core values, the vision, mission, just like standards that you're trying to set within the weight room that I'm going to feel from the very beginning?
I think there's a few like your prototypical like culture things or quotes or stuff that we have. A couple of them are here before I got here, so I've just adopted those, and I love them, and so that's why I keep them. Honor, courage, commitment, and loyalty were like our four big core values that we had. And then when I got here, I actually added consistency to it. Consistency is my kids all know this. That's my favorite word. I found out that if you don't have consistency, you're not gonna have much growth. You can have all the strength and all the power and all the athleticism in the world, but if you don't have consistency and like the ability to work hard at things that you want to do, you're probably not gonna get that much better. And so that's those are our five core values that we preach all the time. If you see any of my t-shirts, I always put train with attitude on the back. I stole that from Wayne State College. Grant Darnell's, I think his name. He's not there anymore, but I stole that from him. I loved it. Just like the passion and the aggressiveness and the intent with how you approach the weight room, the barbell, Anything you do, like train with an attitude. It doesn't mean you have to be an a-hole, but it's like the locked in focus and intent that you have when you train. Um, and then one other one that I really love is defend the island. Um, and just having, and obviously I'm not from Grand Island. I've been here for 5 years now, but having that mentality, we're a definite blue collar, like work ethic town. We have to outwork people. And having pride in where you come from and defending the island is kind of it just fits that mold of how we approach things, I think. And so that's actually a sign that I just put in front of the weight room, just because I love the mentality that it gives our kids of like be proud of where you come from and work as hard as you possibly can to defend the island. Um, what was the second part of the question?
Basically, like when I'm going in there,
Freshman first day, right?
right? And I just like I'm not even talking about like block zero. I'm just thinking like the environment, the feel, the things that you want to just like hammer home from day one.
Um, Not every kid is going to love the weight room. I fully believe that, but my goal is to try and get every kid to love the weight room. So I think I approach my job with a lot of energy and a lot of positivity. I try and coach as hard as I can and constantly give kids feedback, whether it's like a physical coaching cue on a lift or whether it's just like a fist bump and a hey, great job, good to see you. Ask them personal questions. I just try to make it a very welcoming environment. But at the same time, it can be welcoming, but it's going to be extremely hard work too. And I'm very detail oriented, almost military like, but with a fun twist to it, you know? Like we do a lot of stuff on cue. We do like our weight room is reset the exact same every single time we leave. Our dumbbells are perfectly upright. Like I teach kids attention to detail because I think that's a big quality that kids need to have moving forward. If you want to be successful, is you have to pay attention to the small details because they obviously turn into the big ones. And the more kids can learn different things like that. And one of my biggest things is just be a good person. So I try and teach kids to have respect for others, care about others, put others before yourself, and just always have that type of mindset. Because I think that's kind of a lost art today. Everybody's just worried about themselves. And so I want to teach kids like how can you care about others first and put others before yourself and have a true servant leadership type mentality. And I think that's what we try to hammer home with our freshmen, like that first summer when they get here. Obviously, we train the basics, so like we ingrain like the core movement patterns in them. But it's all about having fun, working hard, having a good positive effort and attitude, and just being a good teammate.
Yeah, I'm saying like I don't want to say this with the most humble perspective as possible, but oftentimes like it's not even the programming that matters that much. It's really like because everybody's going to do similar things, right? Like it's kind of like a football practice or a basketball practice or whatever or
Yeah,
sport practice. Like everybody's going to practice somewhat similar as far as like in basketball practice, you're gonna have to learn how to shoot the ball. You're gonna have to learn how to defend. You're gonna have to learn the offense. You're gonna have to learn the defense, right? Like it's pretty cut and dry. There's different ways that people do it, but really what comes down to it is like how you're gonna go about doing all those things. And I just find so much value in that. Like the things that you're talking through is like just good reminders for me too of like what am I emphasizing in the weight room? Like what would a freshman say if I asked them, and I think you're spot on with everything that you said. And all that stuff matters. And it won't just matter while they're in the weight room, but it'll matter like for the rest of their life. And that's kind of why I like the weight room so much is just like that microcosm for life, right?
absolutely. And it's like most freshmen think like, why is this dude so psychotic all the time?
Yeah.
Because I'm a definite like I'm walking fast. I'm a clapper. I'm a yeller. Like I like doing those things. I like making it a loud, positive environment. Most of them are just like deer in the headlights. Like, what is this dude on right now? And
Caffeine.
our older kids
Dangerous
just know. And
caffeine.
yeah, I'm naturally caffeinated too. I think. Our older kids just know and they expect that now, so it's no different to them. But the freshmen are just like, wow, well, this dude is something else.
Yeah, that's right. I'm passionate about it, man. I like
Yeah.
it. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about culture. We, and if you have more things that come up and like that you want to bring up, go for it. But I would like to see just like some of the ways that you're organizing training so that like you can train the amount of kids that are coming through effectively. So what are some of your favorite like resources or tools or software or logistical organization, like resources that you would use um, on a daily basis. What allows you to be able to train kids in an organized way?
Team Builder is big. We just got that last May, and it's been awesome. It allows me to do my job really efficiently in a small amount of time. And before I was using Cody Hughes made like his strength sheets. I was using that for a long time, and that was awesome at the same time. But then it kind of came, programs train like or change like daily. So Team Builder allowed us. So we upgraded to Team Builder, and I could go make a change like that. And so that's really good. Organization wise, I'm a tier system guy, and our kids know that. So they just know that like if it's a total lower upper day emphasis, like they kind of know what exercises are going to be coming. That's the thing about Team Builder is kids can log in on their phone or whatever. They can look at the whole week ahead, and they kind of know what to expect. So I think that helps our kids come prepared to the weight room. They know exactly like, hey, we're front squatting. Hey, we're doing RSI testing. We're vertical. We're doing hurdle hops. This is what we're doing today. So they kind of have the mindset, right? Um, and the tier system is so nice for just plug and play with different exercises. Um, whether it's your total, your lower, your upper, kids know like if it's a push or a pull, a single arm, a unilateral, like alternating, whatever it is. It just allows me to put different variations in there that still achieve the same goal. So kids know exactly like the recipe for how I prep things for them, and I think it's a great tool that kids can learn fast. And they pick up on it quickly about how to get like an efficient training plan in mind. And that's the thing, like you talked about training kids for life. They can go on to college. They know how the tier system works. They can plug and play exercises when they're at the rec center in college, and they're ready to go. They know how to make their own training plans, and so that's what I really like about it. Um, I'm also a big 5-3-1 guy because I think like the 5-3-1 protocol is so simple, but it's so effective at the same time. And you can honestly apply like the principle to a lot of different lifts. Um, and just depending on what it is, it's a great off-season tool. Kids can get a lot stronger in a short amount of time. And then I also utilize a little bit of APRE stuff in season to kind of monitor fatigue and load management and things like that. So those would probably be like my three biggest things that I really fall back on for training.
It's crazy how well like any protocol can fit into the tier too. Like if you just
Yeah,
got all the tier is like this really nice training structure, and you can modify it to fit your facility or your logistics or whatever. And then it just comes down to like what you're saying, the plug and play. And I
yeah,
like that you can change the training protocols within that, meaning like your prescription. So 531 or APRE or whatever people want to prescribe to, like it's just easy to plug that in. So I really like for kids to be able to know and have a little bit of rhythm to class. And yes, we want to make sure that there's some variance every once in a while so like it keeps it fresh. But really when it comes down to it, it's nice to have like this flow and this rhythm and just get in there, get the work going the way that we need to get it going so we can elicit the response, from the stimulus that we're shooting for and just consistently do that, like you mentioned before. And I don't know, I've just been on this kick for probably the last couple months of like, man, what does it look like to be consistent for 4 years? What does it look like to be consistent? Hopefully, like if we get a junior high involved for 6 years. And if
yeah,
you stay consistent over and over and over, you never have to be a world beater. You just have to keep going.
yeah. And but people are like, oh, um, like they think they just go hard for a month. It's like you're going to be good. Like, well, you can't just go hard for a summer and think it's going to last the whole school year, like 3 different seasons. Your body's going to be so beat down. It's the kids that show up every day and just chip away, and it's the consistency that, yeah, it's crazy.
I've got a couple of friends that we've talked about this a few times of like sometimes so like I'll program whatever I program within our class, and then sometimes we'll have kids that go and do extra. And um, they'll go and they'll train like a lot. And
Oh, yeah.
some of them like they'll burn out and then kind of back it down. We'll just do whatever is in class, or maybe they get to a season and like they just can't handle doing both the training and the in-season sport and what we're doing in class, so that they'll cut the extra out. But by and large, we've got kids that just stay consistent over and over, and their work capacity is so high because of it. It's just unreal to me. So like even in that consistency, and they just like it. They want to go. It's kind of their hangout area. They'll train for over an hour, and it's not like it's high tempo or anything like that, but it's some solid training, you know. And I don't know, I just find that so crazy that when we just keep on asking the body to react to this stimulus, that it just keeps on responding. And like I can't even imagine now, but like a 14 to an 18-year-old, how resilient they are and how fast they bounce back from all of that. It's crazy.
Well, because it's like I try and do the same programs that like a lot of our kids do. I want to stay as athletic and strong as I can for as long as I can. But it's crazy. Like when I get here in the morning, it's like it's a solid 20, 30 minutes to get loose versus a kid that can just walk in and just whoo, let's go. And it is crazy how resilient they are and how quickly they bounce back, especially for the kids that they are lifting during the day and then they're going to the gym at night and they're hammering a leg day. And then they come in the next day and like, coach, I ain't doing that. I did legs last night. It's like, well, yeah, you are. You need to prepare better. You need to plan ahead better.
Yes.
You're going to do something in some way, shape, or form. We might have to alter it now because you didn't plan ahead, and we'll do different things because it's like I'm not. I'm gonna put you in the best spot that I can to be successful. So we're gonna do some different stuff because we don't want to like murder your lower body. You got a game tomorrow. Which on another note is like, why are you doing all that extra game? But that's besides the point. Um, and it's also crazy, like you talked about stimulus, like chasing stimulus and whatnot. If you put on team builder, you have like your A's and your B's and your C's. It's crazy how kids like just ignore the letters altogether and they do an A with a C. And it's like, well, I wanted you to do the A with the A because the stimulus we're chasing is the A's are together, but you totally disregarded that and you went and undid the C's, and now we're all backwards in what we're doing. So, but I think every high school strength coach goes through that every day. So, but that's kind of the fun part is like you pull that kid aside and you teach him, and it's like this is the goal with what we're trying to get out of it. So you have to go in this order, or you don't achieve said goal. And so now we're behind a step a little bit, but we're gonna fix it tomorrow.
It's so funny. Like there could be a whole podcast or a whole just like book of
Things high school kids do.
yeah,
Like,
the things that high school kids do in training. And it's just so hilarious. And I mean, it's just newbies, right? It's
yeah,
newbies. They're trying to learn and it exposes us. Like a lot of coaches, like they'll put something on Twitter about how they think it's funny that their kid did this. And it is funny. But it's also like it exposes us because like, well, our job is to do what? Our job is to teach and coach, right?
yeah.
Like if if they're struggling with something, guess whose job that is? So yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's there's a lot of funny conversations that come from that stuff though.
That's why you keep that stuff in the group text and not on Twitter most of the time.
So tell me this. You're training that many kids. I've seen some awesome videos of your guys' room. It's pretty nice. How did you go about like finding funding for your weight room and your program in general? Like what do you do to make sure that you can always, allow your kids to have what they need for training?
Yeah, it's a little thing called COVID money. Was the actual weight room, so I just timed it right. They were planning like a renovation before I got here, and then it kind of got put on hold. And then we get all the ESSER funds like from COVID, and then I really pushed to get the weight room done because I think our weight room was built in like 1997, 98. So we still had your typical like rubber horse stall mats for flooring and no bumpers. We had a bunch of racks, but a lot of stuff that was really, really good, but just some different stuff. And if we are going to update it, I wanted to do it the right way. So COVID was a big piece of it. Our booster club is phenomenal um, because before we did any of that, they bought us all new bumpers, all new, like we spent 80 to 90 grand from our booster club just on dumbbells, bumpers, bars, like different things like that. And then every year, a booster club gives us a good chunk of money to buy new stuff because every year it's like your bands go bad, like some pads go bad. You got different things that you need to fix, adding different trap bars or safety squat bars, like different things like that. And then our PE budget's okay. But then a lot of it is like I started fundraising hard this year because we have a decently, we had like 55 to 60 kids on our powerlifting team. and taking that many kids and traveling and stuff, I figured out that you have to fundraise a lot of money to pay for travel. So we do different, I get items donated, and we do different raffles. We raffle off tickets, and then pull winners to win the items. I just have a donation page on our website all the time where you can click on it and donate. We sack groceries at like Hy-Vee or Super Saver, which are grocery stores here, and people donate that way. We're helping out with a couple events this summer where we're setting up tables and chairs, and so I just find different ways to kind of get out in the community and work concession stand. Like it's just a bunch of different things that pop up that I'm the first to hop on it because we need money. Our kids don't necessarily always like it, and then I'm like, well, it's fun if you guys don't have to pay for stuff, and we get all this cool stuff to play with every day. So yeah, we're gonna work, and very, very gracious for how much our booster club supports us. I don't think I can in our school district. Like I don't know that I've ever really been told no. And I have some projects coming up. Like I want to introduce like DBT for some of our older groups, and I want to upgrade some different stuff. And I usually it's never a no. It's like, all right, we'll try and find a way. And a lot of times it's a yes, like we'll make it happen. So it's a very supportive school district, very supportive booster club. Take a lot of pride in our athletics, and we want to be really, really good. So they're willing to foot the bill on a lot of stuff to make it happen for us.
Isn't it pretty sweet? Like athletic booster clubs, they see the value of strength and speed training and how it impacts all athletes. So what's the easiest thing to like give money toward knowing that you're going to help everyone? It's like, it's easy. It's like, okay, you have strength and speed and then probably athletic training. And then it's like a team by team approach really is like what it ends up being. So like,
Yeah.
I think it's like so thankful for our booster just seeing the value in what we're doing for all sports, right?
Yeah. And it's like you said, like we 600 or 700 kids versus if you just give something to a volleyball team or a basketball team or a golf team, like it may only be 5 to 30 or 40 kids versus the 600 or 700 that we're training. Like I think it's an easy sell that the impact that the money that you put into an athletic performance program can make. And I think our improvement over the last, 4 or 5 years since I got here has been really, really good. And so I think they're willing to keep putting money into it because the results are kind of speaking. And so I think it's I built good relationships the longer I've lived here with a lot of our booster club members because they're parents, and I'm on to the second or third sibling now. And so I built good relationships with them. I always try and thank them as much as I can by doing different things and just trying to be as, supportive as I can as they are for me.
My mom and dad have been teachers and coaches for a long time. And I was telling my dad the other day, I was walking around a class. It was first semester, but I was walking around the class, and I started to realize I looked all the way around the class. I'm like, I'm fairly certain I've had every one of your guys' siblings. Not like every one of their siblings, but every one of them had a sibling that I'd had already. And
Yeah.
it was like a little weird for me, like surreal, because I'm thinking, holy smokes, I'm like training whole families, get the opportunity, me and Coach Whitman, the other strength coach, we get to see all these kids and then the next sibling and then the next sibling. And it's like, that's just
So wait till you hit their kids in 15 years.
yeah, that's what Whitman said. He's like, yeah, you're on the first round. I'm getting close to being the second
Yeah.
round.
I was like, that's when you know it's getting real.
Yeah.
Or you're invited to weddings and stuff like that. You're like, man, I'm getting old.
Yeah, yeah. So I went to my first wedding this last year. I'm like, this is wild. This is cool. That this also means I'm getting old. So
Yeah, a little bit.
yeah. Hey, I have different coaches that have been asking some really good questions. And sometimes it's like a struggle for me to think of, I've just done it a particular way. I found that it really works well. And sometimes if another school hasn't done it in that way, they're like, why do you do it like that? And here's one of the questions is you told me that you have your kids, you can basically have them 5 days a week, but you choose to train them in the weight room 3 days a week. And then you're going to do other things on the other couple. Tell me, why aren't you training 4 or 5 days a week? Why isn't it more better when we're talking about strength training, the high school athlete? Tell me that.
I love the more is the more is better. thing, because that's always been the thought process, right? The more we do, the better we're going to get. And that's not always the case. And I found that out. We had 90-minute blocks, and it's like people that aren't in the weight room are like, "We'll just lift for 90 minutes. Like, what's the big deal?" It's like, well, eventually the body's going to break down a little bit, and your return on investment is going to go down quite a bit if you just blow them up every single day. And it's nice to the tier system. Like, you have a total day, a lower day, and an upper day. So there's your 3 days of training. Like, the program is already set, and then we focus on one of those days we lift and we run. So we do a change of direction and a lift usually, which was today. Wednesdays are devoted entirely to linear speed, usually. Not always. We do a lot of flies, like a lot of fly tens and stuff like that, but we'll also be outside doing sled work or chain sprints, different things. I do a lot of snake runs, and just different things like that. And then we lift Thursday, and then Friday is always, if we have school, Fun Friday. So we work hard for 4 days, and then Fridays are always some sort of competitive game. So it might be dodgeball, it might be kickball outside, or we may be doing like straight up competition. Kids are getting after it, and just continuing to build that competitive mindset. Why do we not live 4 days or 5 days? I think at some point, like, you're kind of getting into powerlifting splits, bodybuilding splits, because you're isolating like different muscle groups. And at the end of the day, like, they're athletes. Like, I try and train our kids in the most athletic way that I can. So they're extremely robust. They can jump, they can run, they can move in different planes, move in different directions. They can do all these things. And so, like, trying to get our kids, and this has been something that I've battled with, is trying to get kids to really prioritize the sprinting, the agility, the change of direction, like that stuff. Because they don't think about it. Like, why are we lifting? And I'm like, well, there's no squat rack on the field. Like, you still have to be able to move efficiently in what you're doing out in space. So you guys have to learn how to get faster, like change levels with your hips, turn in different directions, use your body differently, and have some kinesthetic awareness to what you're doing. And I try to do that as much as I can. I do some of that in the weight room too. So there's different box jumps, different hurdle hops, different landmine variations that we do, like to get kids to produce force in different vectors and different directions. And I try and have as efficient movers as I can and as athletic kids as I can, because I think that's what's going to make us the most successful in sport.
Do you ever get pushback from kids to have a little bit of that mindset? So like at Mount Vernon, we're strength and speed, and we talk about like both of them are vitally important, right? Both strength and speed. What does it look like when you get like kids that do push back, or what is that conversation looking like?
That's why I changed the name of the class to athletic performance instead of advanced weights, right? Because then it's like, well, I just got weights. Like, we're just going to lift all the time. And I was talking with one of our girls that she's a really good power lifter. She's going to go powerlift in college, actually. She normally does track. She's not even track this year. And she's like, I've just gotten, and we still do, like, I still train our power lifters like athletes. We still clean. We still do sprints. We still do change of direction, because a lot of them do play another sport. They got to be athletic. And she even told me, she's like, I've kind of gotten slower ever since I got done with this sport, and I just really focused on powerlifting. Like, it's a strength-based, like, slow movement, like you're grinding out slow reps. So your fast twitch kind of alters a little bit. She's like, I'm not near as fast as I once was. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like, you're training differently. It's not so athletic anymore. It's more powerlifting based. And so there's definitely pushback. Like, kids are like, I don't want to run. And I'm like, y'all are athletes. Why would you not run? That's what your sports are, is running for the most part, and jumping and cutting and doing all these athletic things. And yet you want to pigeonhole yourself into a squat rack. And so it's always reminding kids that like, we're athletes first. We're going to try and enhance our athletic potential by using the weight room to produce more force, which carries over to the field or the court or the mat or whatever it is. And so that's the message I try and convey to our kids regularly, is be an athlete, and we're just trying to enhance those qualities.
That's a really good explanation. Okay, follow up.
It's a tough one too. Like, that question comes up all the time. And the other one is like, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, you're good. Go for
it. When you have a kid that's like, well, why do I have to do this? I don't do this in my sport. And it's like, well, you maybe don't sprint 40 yards in your sport, or 30 yards, or in this direction, or jump, or do anything, but like, you still have explosiveness. It's the explosive quality that we're training, not the specific movement, right? So that's the kind of mindset that you have to get kids to understand, is like, it's that stimulus that we're chasing, not necessarily the vertical jump. but it's like the vertical explosion or the horizontal projection or whatever it is. And so getting kids in that mindset is a tough sell as well sometimes.
Yeah, man, I tell you, like there are some hard conversations sometimes to like really get through and show them like the value that it comes from like this athletic based training. But really when it comes down to it, if you want to impact not only like how well somebody can explode or like just general power, but then also think about like quality of life later on. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can grind out some stuff. You're also going to be grinding a lot of uh tissue, a lot of ligaments, tendons, muscle. I mean, like all of this, you can train like that, but eventually it's going to take a toll on you. So like
Well, I
thinking
think
about
people
that,
our age and a
go
little
on,
bit
man.
older are kind of starting to realize that as they're getting older. It's like, man, that the way we trained when we were in high school, my clean was ugly in high school, like ugly, not efficient at all. And my squat and bench probably weren't great, but that's what we did is those three things a lot of the time. And our accessories are just kind of like, hey, do them if you want to. And it was just lifting throughout the day. We never did a whole lot of change of direction or speed work in a class throughout the day. You did it with your sport a little bit, but you're starting to see those kind of effects. And so, yeah, it's like your athletic career is only so long. And then you have this other like 50, 60, 70-year gap. If you are lucky enough to live that long, that like, what are you going to do with this big old gap of your life? Well, you got to be able to move and pick up your grandkids and roll around the floor and do all these athletic things. You want to do those as long as you can. So it's like, you kind of have to look long term and plan a little bit as to how you want your rest of your life to go too.
I like this little segment. I need to start adding this to other podcast episodes. You killed it. Great job with that.
Innovators here.
So, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but can you talk about some of the toughest hurdles that you've had and some of the things that you've had to overcome while while on your path? It could be, at your school now or in the past. Either one's fine.
The block schedule was a tough one. Like getting kids consistency with every other day stuff was really hard. Now, but my first high school was a traditional like 8 period day, and it was you had 32 minutes to lift because you had time to change and all this stuff. And I thought that when I got done with that and I was moving to a school that was block, I was like, this is going to be awesome. I got 90 minutes to do stuff with kids, and I was so excited. And then I got there and I was like, I think I'd rather have the old one back, or I get them 5 days for 30 minutes, and you can microdose it, and you can really focus hard on five or six movements that day. But it's every day, so the consistency piece is there. It may not be at the intensity with which you want every day. You may not be able to get everything done that you want every day, but the key word is every day. Um, so I think that's probably the biggest challenge that I've had. And I'm back to that now of like, we're doing something athletic every day, whether it's lifting, running, jumping, competition, tug of war, even like different things like that that are getting kids more involved in the athletic performance mindset altogether. Um, that's probably my biggest hurdle. For the most part, it hasn't been buy-in. Like I bet 98, 99% of our athletes train every single day in some way, shape, or form. There's a few here and there that don't for whatever reason, but our coaches are really supportive. Um, our athletic department, AD, assistant AD, everybody's really supportive of what I do. Um, and they come with questions. They usually seem pretty genuinely interested in how we do things, and they're good to reinforce what I'm doing, and they push all their kids to um, really buy into the program as a whole because I think they've seen the benefit of it, and that's what I'm really appreciative of is just a supportive coaching staff and athletic department as a whole. So I'm sure there's other challenges that I'm not thinking of or ones that are going to come up in the future, but that's why I'm extremely lucky and blessed to be where I'm at because I haven't had a whole lot of challenges, honestly. I don't that I'm thinking of anyway.
Yeah, sometimes when you're proactive, you're passionate, you're positive, like those challenges, those problems that might happen, you don't see them as like real tough hurdles. It's more so just like another opportunity to problem solve. So,
Yeah, it's
some,
a speed bump. Like you just make a small adjustment and you keep rolling, and that's why I'm like, there's definitely challenges every day. Don't get me wrong, like ton of
Yeah.
challenges, but it's like school picture day. Like there's a challenge right there. Kids are going in and out, and it's like how do you get them all to wrangle back up and focus? Like different challenges like that, and schedule things that happen. And practice got canceled, game got canceled. Like challenges happen every single day. But yeah, the more the passion that you have and your ability to problem solve on the fly makes those challenges seem very minuscule compared to like the big challenges that people have, you know?
Yeah. It is crazy how much schedule affects things and how programs can be implemented. Like, really, when it comes down to it, your schedule is going to dictate a lot of how your program is going to end up being, just based off the logistics, like how
No
you're
doubt.
going to put it together.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but it's like, do you deload? And I'm like, we never deload because like we just had a week off for spring break. Our next 4 weeks of school, we have one day off each week where kids don't have school, whether it's Easter or ACT day or like there's days and weeks built in year round where like kids don't even really need a deload week. We just keep on trucking with what our plan is because the schedule is kind of built that way for you to already do it. And we get out of school and it's like we take a week off, kids decompress, 4 weeks of summer, you have 4th of July week, 4 weeks of summer, week off, fall sports start. So it's like it's all already built out for you. If you just use the schedule as it is, it's a pretty solid plan, honestly.
That's a good point. That's pretty nice. I have not lived outside the academic calendar, so I don't even know what life outside of academics is.
It's
I,
crazy.
you're similar probably too. Like
Yeah,
I've always lived in the academic calendar, so it's hard to even think what's different than that.
I know, right? And it's kind of fun 'cause you're like, well, we don't have school, so like Christmas break, it's like I'm chilling. I open the weight room for a couple hours a day, and then I'm chilling. I can hang out with my kids, and people like my friends like I got to go to work, and I'm like, well, choose a different career, bud.
That's good stuff, man. And that circles back to like what we were talking about earlier. Like, well, my next question is going to be talking about working on the system rather than working in the system. But before we get there, like, remember how you were talking about it's just long days,
Yeah,
but it doesn't seem that bad because you're passionate about what you're doing. But
yeah,
we
it's fun.
also we also have these like we've got these built-in breaks. Like we had conferences last week, so our comp day is Good Friday, which is nice, right? Be able to take Good Friday off,
Yep,
um, because we had the later nights the previous week, and that's just a built-in time, just to recoup and refocus for the next time around.
for sure. The longer I go, like I was definitely that guy a few years ago. That's like I got to be there the longest. I got to be there the earliest, the latest. I'm getting to the point where like I'm like once the work is done, I'm out. I'm going to pick up my kids. I'm going to go home and have fun. I don't need to be there for 5 hours on a Wednesday when we don't have school or something. Like open it for 2. Odds are I'm lifting for 1 hour of that.
Yeah,
And then I'm BSing with kids as they come in and helping them with lift. But it's all pretty much automated. So kids know exactly what they're doing. They come in, they lift, and they leave. So it's like I get in, I get out. I don't try to spend as much time here anymore. I've kind of realized, the older you get, the more you realize what your real priorities are. And it's like my family's at home. If I do need to come in, half the time I bring my kids, it's a playground. Like
mhm.
the plyo box has become some sort of castle and whatnot. My son he loves to hit a couple goblet squats and do different things. So it's like my family's starting to be a part of it. But it's the grind that I'm kind of getting out of. Like I work hard when I'm here, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna grind for a couple extra hours just to say that I did. That
Yeah,
mentality is definitely going to the wayside.
yeah, absolutely. I tell you this, like when you're younger, it's good to go hard and you learn a lot of things, you figure out
But
things that work, that don't work, all that type of stuff. But as you get older and your kids get older and your priorities change a little bit, it's good that we had these formative years of like, all right, here we go. Like it was basically grinding.
that's what the GA life was you're there at 4:30, you left at 7:30 at night, and
Yeah.
you just ran it back, and you were like I was traveling with teams, like I would travel with basketball or baseball, and doing all these deals on the road, and it was super fun because I wasn't married yet. My wife was still living in Nebraska, so it was like if I went home, I was just sitting there watching TV or going to sleep. So it's like I was just out working and doing as much as I could
Yep.
and trying to learn, asking questions, going to clinics and doing stuff. And it's like I still do all that stuff, but just definitely at a more moderate amount now.
What years were you at Pitt State?
2015 to 2018.
Okay. I was a GA at Northwest
Yeah.
uh, until 15. No,
Okay.
through 2016 is actually
Well, that's
what.
where I met you the first time because we went to the Glacier Clinic in Kansas City because Nelson was speaking and Joe was speaking at the same one.
Yeah,
That's
that's
when we
right.
that's when we hit the old Brazilian steakhouse and just house like
That
meat
was
after meat after meat.
I can't. We just Chamas. I think that's what it was. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah. There's like 8 big strength coaches eating at the table, and these people are like, we can't bring enough meat to the table.
the meat sweats after that, man.
Yeah, literally.
So
Them
so
shamas. I wouldn't have even known the name. That's funny. That's impressive. You know that.
here's why I know it. I was just with Joe Quinlan, the Northwest Missouri State strength coach, on
Yeah.
Friday. We'd went down to watch the NAIA basketball tournament at I can't remember the auditorium that's in the where they play that at. But we were
Yeah. It's
driving
right by
back.
the Sprint Center. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we're
It's
driving,
nostalgic. It's old and just gross, but it's awesome.
but it's awesome. Yeah. Okay. Memorial, maybe. I can't remember what it is. And so we're driving back to Maryville and we drive by Chamas and Joe's like, "Hey, do you remember there? Want to go eat some of that?" And
Gotta go.
it's well, it was a Friday and Joe's Catholic. He's like, ah, so couldn't eat
I'm
meat.
Catholic too, so Fridays would suck. Any fish?
Yeah. Yep. There you go. So, yeah, I tell you, the reason I was asking was, um, kind of like that idea that GA life, man, it's different. And it was
Fine
so
grind.
helpful. So helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that Glacier Clinic too. That was good. Okay.
That was
Tell me this. You are in the system so much of the time. When you work on the system, um, you have to be learning in some way. Like, what are your best professional development resources that you're using? And then how do you go about like figuring out where you want to take your program next?
dude, Twitter is I mean it's crazy to say, but that's where I get probably 90% of my information is like just stealing stuff from coaches on Twitter. Like a lot of the stuff I steal, I had obviously had background information on it because I learned about it in an article or from a coach at a clinic or something. And then I see it being implemented in like real time on Twitter about, well, this coach implemented this. Like, this is a way that I can do that. Um, I read a lot of Simply Faster articles. They're super, like they're written by coaches for coaches. So I think it's really easy for you to apply stuff that you learn on there. I honestly don't do a lot of podcasts. I don't have time, honestly. I'm not even going to tell you a podcast that I listen to. I used to listen to Iron Game Chalk Talk by Coach McKeefery all the time. That was my favorite. Um, I don't listen to a whole lot. So it's basically Twitter, Simply Faster, and then clinics. And I try and take as many notes as I can when I'm reading that stuff or listening to speakers. And I'll take notes on like if he's talking about a certain method that he uses, I'm off to the side like writing in my head like how can I implement this like tomorrow if I walk in the weight room. Like I remember at the NHSSCA NatCon last year listening to Cal Dietz and Chris Corpus like talking about um, different things, and it's Cal Dietz is talking about his goat drill, and I'm like, how can I implement one? How can I get kids to buy into this crazy stuff? And two, how can I implement it right away? Because the first one's a beast of its own, and the second one is it just depends how you can fit it into your mold of what you're doing. So I'm always like writing notes off the side of like how can I use this? Because I think clinics and that stuff are great because you're like taking notes, but you forget like the implementation part of it. How can you implement it after you've written down all this knowledge about it? So I try and do both at the same time. But I text coaches a lot. I ask like how do you guys do this at your school? I try and get as much real world like knowledge and experience as I can, because that's the stuff that I can apply right away.
That's a really good answer. And the reason I say that is because like there's so much of it that as long as you have a base of understanding on something faster, going to a clinic or talking to a coach or whatever, and then you start to see how it's implemented and you're thinking about your situation, I think those are all the processes that we need to go through as a coach
Yeah.
before we just throw something in. And I guess like eventually you get to the spot where you have the structure built in of like how you're going to go through the week. So then it's like, okay, this is where this would fit. Is it actually more valuable than the thing that I already have there? If it's not, then you kind of just like set it to the side and you might use it later, but maybe not.
Yeah.
If it is better, then it's like, okay, let's see what this looks like, and just keep on doing that until you find like maybe in your situation what's optimal, I think that was a good process, good thought process that you have there. That's good.
Like for example, I hadn't been doing like a ton of RSI testing. I basically did it with our court sports, volleyball and basketball, because I think that's where it's obviously the most applicable. Um, and I'll do it like one day when we're doing like vertical explosion. One day, like the emphasis was ground contact time. So we're doing 3 different exercises to work on ground contact time, right? Like a depth drop to a box jump, some sort of pogo, and then we go do RSI testing. Whereas the next week we did just rate of force development. So it's a seated box jump with a dumbbell jump and a vertical jump on the pad. So it's just 2 different ways of implementing like similar methodology, but like your outcome is a little bit different. And I learned like the best RSI we had was a baseball kid, which was crazy. Like not even a court sport kid, but a baseball kid popped off and had the best RSI out of our entire program. So it's kind of fun to see when you implement different methodologies and different training philosophies and protocols and stuff, that sometimes kids surprise you that they're really athletic and really explosive on things that they don't necessarily use all the time in their sport, which is always fun to see. And like today, I just always have the vertical pads like set out, and we have Plyomat, so I could plug the box in real quick. And we had kids that were hitting vert PRs just messing around today when we got done, and we weren't even doing vert. And they're like, "Oh my god, like I hit a PR and the day we're not even doing it." I'm like, "Yeah, just hit the calendar, go back like last week and type the vertical in, because I'll count that since you hit it." So it's fun to see different things like that. Um, I don't know. I love when kids get excited about stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny when those things happen. Like I always leave our Plyomat out also.
Yeah.
And it's funny where like, oh gosh, that's way better than what I just did the other day. It's like, oh, okay, nice. Then I try
Cycle
to,
back to that day, type that in.
yeah, try to think back, like, okay, what did we do today that actually spurred you on? And, oftentimes there's had fun and moved around and played a game and sprinted a little bit and like, okay, now everybody's firing. Yeah, that's good.
I was like, it's like, all right, change of plans. Everybody's doing verticals.
Everybody come over here. Got to get these numbers.
Yeah.
Um, okay, we're coming to the end of the show. I should probably give you just an opportunity real quick before we get to the last question. Are there any other topics that you want to talk about? It's basically like last chance. What, did we cover the things you want to talk about?
I think for the most part, like I
All right.
said, I'm kind of an open book. I love talking about whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a specific training philosophy or protocol that I'm just like an expert at. I feel like I'm kind of a jack of all trades, but a master of none. I don't know. There's certain things that I love, like doing more than others, obviously, but nothing really comes to mind.
No, you're good. We'll have your contact information in the show notes. So if people want to reach out and talk some shop, and we'll have it ready for them. So, all right, last question for you. How are you making the big time where you're at? Like at your school, what's it look like?
I think one of the things that I love the most is getting out of the weight room and going and supporting all of our kids in their events. And I love taking my kids with me, because I want our high school kids to be the ones that my personal kids look up to. And our kids notice that. Like, and how do you make the big time? Well, it's the most important thing, that like I'm here to help you be good at your sport. I'm going to come support you at your sport. So I think I've almost been to dang near every sport. Like last fall, I went to a cross country meet, and I had kids that were like, had their mom taking pictures with me and the kids afterwards. Like kids care about that stuff, and they're going to work harder for you when they know that you're there to support them. And so I think my biggest thing is like, I push our kids hard in the weight room. I support them like crazy. I try and keep it positive, energetic, fun, and work extremely hard at the same time. But then I go and support them with all their different activities. I'm not a big soccer guy, but I love our freaking soccer teams. They work so unbelievably hard, and I love going and watching them. And I just tell them, like, I want us to be the most physical team. Like, we should set the record in yellow cards at the end of the year. Like, I want to get out, and our kids, I fist bump our soccer team after every game when they go back to locker room. Like, it's stuff like that. And you see them start to buy in more. So how do I make it big time? Is it's literally the highest priority outside of my family. I put a lot of effort and focus and attention detail into what we do in the weight room, and I think it pays off when kids see that how much you care about them and how much you care about what they are passionate about. That's how you make it big time. Is it's literally the place they want to spend the most time. One of the coaches that has made the biggest impact on their life. I'm not making $1 million. I never will, and I don't really care. I'm impacting a lot of kids on a daily basis, and I'm getting to know them and their families, and I think that's the true goal in life, is to impact lives and make a difference and make the big time where you're at, no matter where it's at.
Good stuff. I think you hit a home run with that one too. Way to conclude the show. And if you're
For everything, huh?
what's that?
First time for everything.
There we go. If you're a listener and you want to reach out to Pat and talk some shop, ask him some questions. He's got a really nice system. He's done a really good job at his school. If you follow him on social media, you'll see how he implements in a very strategic way. And man, it's a lot of good stuff. So, Pat, I appreciate you hopping on and giving up some of your sleep time so that you can share what you got going on, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun.